Free Falling by Grinch1234. The last part. Part 3. They quickly fall into a routine that, shockingly enough, doesn't suck as much as it could have. Dazai mostly spends his days on the couch, staying off his broken leg and allowing it to heal properly or whatever. He watches TV and does paperwork, and that's about it. Chuuya pops in and out, helping out with smaller missions and tasks when Koyu requests his assistance in something. Dazai is pretty sure half of those so-called missions are excuses for the two of them to have tea together, but he hasn't called his partner out on it yet, and never will. Then, every Friday night, Chuuya will put something dumb on the TV, sit on the floor, and unfurl his wings. It takes less time now that they aren't a complete mess, and even less time once Dazai's shoulder is sufficiently healed and he can take off the sling. Having both hands back speeds up the preening process by double. They don't exactly talk about it, and maybe they should, but too bad. Dazai is perfectly content as is, and considering Chuuya doesn't bring it up either, then presumably his partner is content too. Besides, he does not have the words to express how nice it is to have Chuuya trust him so unquestioningly every week. How much he looks forward to Fridays, if only to see how much shinier Chuuya's feathers have gotten over the week. Before he realizes it, weeks have flown by, and Mori is taking his cast off. Dazai gets a pointed look when the doctor sees the marker drawings scribbled on the previously pristine white cast, but Dazai pretends to be reading the post-cast healthcare notes and ignores the look. Oda and the kids came over a few more times and somehow more drawings found their way onto Dazai's cast. Not his fault whatsoever. That week, he and Chuuya are assigned on their next mission. If possible, they manage to work together even more flawlessly than before. However, on the way back to Chuuya's apartment, Dazai gets a call. He frowns. He was not expecting any calls today. He checks the caller ID and answers anyway. Oda? There is heavy breathing on the other end. For a single, terrifying moment, Dazai stops in the middle of the sidewalk, certain his friend is dying. Dazai? Chuuya's hand carefully lands on his shoulder, jolting him out of panicked thoughts of Oda bleeding out in a ditch somewhere. No, Oda is fine. He can see the future. Someone who can see the future can't die. I'm fine, Dazai says to reassure his partner, then turns his attention back to the call. Oda, where are you? What happened? Oda cuts off, coughing. It's a wet, painful noise that Dazai recognizes immediately. Oda might not be dead now, but he could be very soon.
Your apartment.
Oda manages.
Kids too. Someone attacked.
Dazai sucks in a sharp breath.
Kids are fine. I got hit.
Our apartment. Okay, don't hang up, Dazai orders, breaking out into a sprint. Don't you dare hang up, Oda. Stay on the line. You're putting pressure on the wound, yeah? He can hear Chuuya follow him, so at least if there are armed assailants waiting for them at home, he won't be alone in taking care of things. On the other end of the call, Oda grunts.
Yeah, one of your shirts, I think.
Good idea. Dazai tries to force a laugh. Chibi would be upset if you ruined his clothes with blood. At his side, Chuuya sucks in a sharp breath and taps Dazai's shoulder, his eyes asking a silent question. Dazai nods. Chuuya glows red and kicks off the ground, moving faster than Dazai could dream of and quickly disappearing from sight. Hang on, Oda. Dazai sucks in a sharp breath as his recently healed leg reminds him that sprinting hurts. Chuuya's on his way, okay? I'll be there soon too. Just... Dazai's voice breaks. He doesn't know what to say other than don't die. But voicing that thought aloud only gives Karma the opportunity to screw him over. Dazai runs through the streets, catching his phone like a lifeline, straining his ear to catch Oda's wheezing breaths. After what feels like far too long, there is a loud bang on the other end. Dazai flinches, preparing for the worst.
Oi, Oda! Stay awake, man!
The words are slightly muffled, but clear enough. Dazai relaxes. Subconsciously, his pace slows just a bit. Chuuya is there. He'll keep Oda alive. Everything is going to be fine. When he gets there, things do not look fine. The bloody handprint on the doorknob has Dazai's breath catching in his throat. He can't lose Oda. It's just not allowed. It's not fair. Dazai shoves the door, only to have to catch it from falling, since someone, Chuuya probably, already ripped the hinges clean off the wall. Once the door is angled so it will not fall on anyone, Dazai slips inside. Spotting Oda's form collapsed on the ground, Chuuya kneeled next to him and cursing at him in increasingly foul language. Dazai nearly forgets to breathe. His gaze flicks around the room until it lands on the kids. All 5 are fine, their heads poking through the door to the bedroom, though Sakura is crying while Kosuke, who is holding her, is doing his best to quiet her. Seeing the kids alive and fine is enough for Dazai to jolt into work mode. There is no time to panic. He can panic after Oda is fine and comforting his scared gremlins. Dazai drops to his knees at Chuuya's side. He doesn't need to say anything for Chuuya to start rattling off details. Gunshot injury to the lower abdomen, exit wound visible, severe blood loss, 4 assailants that have been taken care of. Nudging Chuuya's hand, his partner slides aside, letting Dazai, the one between them with the more medical training, take over putting pressure on the wound. The cloth, what Oda said was a shirt, is slippery with blood, useless for stanching anymore. New cloth, Dazai rasps. Chuuya immediately shrugs his jacket off and wrenches his own shirt over his head, handing it over. Dazai quickly swaps the shirts, then leans onto the injury, leveraging his weight to add more pressure. Oda's eyes snap open and the man's teeth grit, dealing with the pain quietly as to not startle the nearby kids. Good. That means Oda is coherent enough to feel the pain and be aware that his orphans are watching. First aid kit, Dazai orders, his voice steadier this time. Under the bathroom sink. Once more responding without question, Chuuya dashes off. He returns moments later with the fully stocked kit, unzipping the pouch and spreading out the contents to make finding things easier. What's the plan? Chuuya asks as Dazai reaches for a pair of gloves. Stitch, glue, wrap. Not cauterize? He's lost a lot of blood. Dazai gives a small shake of his head. Don't want to risk making things worse. We will patch him here and get to HQ. If he needs it cauterized, they can do it in the infirmary. Yeah, okay. Chuuya hovers for a moment, then, seeing Dazai head into tunnel-focused work mode, heads over to the kids. His voice is quiet, offering gentle reassurances to the worried, scared children. Dazai tunes the words out in favor of focusing on the task at hand. Given his years of practice of stitching skin shut, he is able to get a neat row of stitches on either end of Oda's wound. From there, he disinfects the injury and adds a line of medical glue to seal it shut and hopefully prevent infection. Just in case, he also uses a set of his own bandages, the best brand available at hand, and wraps Oda's abdomen, further blocking the wound from the outside world and all its possible contaminants. Once it's over, Dazai strips his gloves off and sighs. Oda, while he did pass out midway through the stitches, is still breathing. His chest is rising and falling, albeit a little shallowly. He is going to live. Something wet touches his cheek and he flinches. It's cold and weird. Dazai does not like it. He reaches up to wipe it away, only to freeze as he notes Oda's blood on his hands. He gasps a strangled noise, and then a hand is gently closing around his wrist and forcing it down, out of his line of sight. "Hey, you're okay." Chuuya's hand cups Dazai's cheek. A thumb passes under his visible eye, wiping the wetness gathering there away. "You did great, Osamu. Oda is going to be just fine." Dazai nods, clinging to Chuuya's words. His partner wouldn't lie. Not about this. So it must be true. Oda is going to be okay. Dazai tries to get his breathing under control, only for it to catch in his throat and turn into an embarrassing sob. Strong arms wrap around him, tugging him into a warm embrace. A hand presses against the back of his head, directing it to rest on Chuuya's shoulder. A gentle ruffle sounds, with extra warmth soon following. Dazai peeks up to see what the noise was, recognizes the black and red feathers caging him in through a watery eye, and goes back to clinging to Chuuya. His partner's lips are pressed against his hair, whispering reassurances that Dazai desperately needs to be proven right. A groan draws him out of Chuuya's arms. The moment Dazai lets go, Chuuya does too, his wings pulling tight to his back to make it easier for Dazai to rush to Oda's side. "Oda, are you awake?" The man's eyes crack open just a sliver, but that is enough. Dazai finds a new tear trying to roll down his face, so he sniffs and wipes it away. No tears allowed, not for the demon prodigy of the mafia. "Are the kids okay?" Oda croaks. He tries to move and gets a whole elbow under him before Dazai realizes that moving is a bad plan. "They're fine," Dazai says, catching Oda's shoulders and guiding him back to the floor. "No one else is hurt, and you will be all better in no time. I'll call Mori and..." Oda's hand grabs Dazai's arm, preventing him from finding his phone and dialing for further medical assistance. "Not Mori," Oda rasps. "Not the mafia." "What? Why not?" Dazai frowns, thoroughly puzzled. "They shot me." Dazai blinks. No, that's not right. Mori wouldn't have you shot. He might be a sleazy creep of a doctor, but he doesn't shoot people. Oda glances Chuuya's way. Dazai follows his gaze and finds his partner averting his eyes. "Chuuya? Well, see, the assailants I found lurking around may have possibly been Port Mafia. It didn't feel like you needed to know that right away, given the circumstances." "Oh." Dazai feels his knees go jelly-like and sits down before he can collapse and further embarrass himself. Crying and allowing Chuuya to hug him is more than enough for the rest of the century. "We'll figure it out," Chuuya continues. "It'll be fine, you'll see. Mori isn't stupid enough to go after all three of us together. We'll figure something out." Dazai nods, still a little dazed and not entirely processing Chuuya's words. All his mind can focus on is the fact that Mori tried to have one of his best friends killed. After a whole night of not sleeping, things are, shockingly, not getting any clearer. Dazai still cannot fathom why on earth Mori would try to have Oda assassinated. No matter which way he looks at it, it just doesn't make sense. If Mori were to succeed, Dazai would eventually figure out who was behind Oda's death and would do everything in his power to ruin Mori. It doesn't make sense. If Mori is starting to make rash, irrational decisions, then who knows what comes next? Maybe Mori will send people after Chuuya. It would be stupid to do so. Chuuya would just win the fight. But still, what if that happened? Dazai bites the inside of his cheek, the slight flash of pain grounding him. He doesn't like dealing with people who have gone off the rails and can no longer be reasoned with. His father is a prime example of just how easy it is to go insane and have someone, even a lowly doctor, slit your throat. Maybe it would be best to lay low for a while. Stay off the Port Mafia's radar, just until they can be certain whether Mori has lost his mind or not. Surprisingly, Oda is of similar opinion. He even brings it up before Dazai says anything. Boss must have heard that I was planning to leave. Oda admits that morning when Dazai brings him coffee. As the current injured person, Oda has been given the bed. The kids stay in there too, careful not to take up too much space and aggravate Oda's injury. Dazai didn't think sharing the couch with Chuuya would be comfortable, but it is. Somehow, their limbs ended up tangled together in a way that works overnight, and he woke up warm and cozy. Huh? Dazai blinks rather intelligently. People don't just leave the Port Mafia. Well, I was going to. Ango said he'd lend a hand. I found a detective agency that is willing to hire ex-mafioso and made contact. Boss must have caught on. Oh, I see. It kind of makes sense. Oda doesn't kill, so he doesn't really fit in with the mafia anyway. I was planning to tell you later this week. Oda continued after taking a sip of coffee. I wanted to make sure it was a for sure thing before I brought it up. Oh, Dazai repeats. Oda's eyes twinkle, amused. No need to look so down, Dazai. You're coming with me. He blinks. Huh? I never agreed to that. Too bad. Oda shrugs, then winces as doing so tugs at his injury. I already bartered for 3 spots at the agency, and the kids want you to come too, so it's already set up. I can't just leave, Dazai protests. It's not that easy. People don't just leave the mafia, Oda. Why not? Because, Dazai sputters. It's obvious, isn't it? People in the mafia stay there until they die. That's how the system works. Besides, Dazai has never not been mafia. He can't just decide to have another lifestyle one day. It doesn't work like that. Give me one valid reason why you shouldn't come with us and I'll accept it. Dazai thinks for a moment, then he nods to himself. I can't leave Chuuya. He'd be grumpy without me. Oda smiles in return. Why do you think I got us 3 spots at the detective agency? The moment it clicks, Dazai gapes. Chuuya takes that moment to poke his head into the room. Hey, what do kids normally eat for breakfast? Chuuya, did Oda tell you he is making us quit the mafia? Dazai demands. Huh? His partner shrugs. Nope, first time I'm hearing it. But seriously, man, he could have warned me in advance so I could say bye to Koyo. What? Dazai sputters. You're just okay with this? Chuuya shrugs again. Sure, why not? The mafia isn't good for either of you, nor the kids. And, well, honestly, it's not great for me either. Kind of annoying to have a god screaming in my head that I should murder people all the time. Maybe a vacation from the mafia life will get Arahabaki to shut up. Dazai gapes. They can't just leave. Can they? Logically, if anyone was going to get away from the Port Mafia alive, it would be Sokuku and the guy that can see the future. Still, just deciding to leave the mafia? That's insane. Doesn't make the single lick of sense. Oda and Chuuya have both gone crazy. However, If they both leave, then there isn't anything left here for Dazai, and they'll need someone like him with a bit of intelligence to stop them from doing dumb things. Plus, who would preen Chuuya's wings? He doubts that Chibi would trust anyone else to do it, and 17 years have proven that Chuuya won't do it himself. Fine. Dazai throws his hands up and stomps out of the room. Fine, I'll help, but only because you two are sometimes rather foolish and need my genius to survive. Cool, thanks. So, what are we having for breakfast? Cereal is always an option, Oda replies. Dazai throws his hands up into the air and stomps off to start packing and planning a way to cover their tracks while the redheads talk about food. See, this is exactly why they need him and his foolproof plans. So, apparently, not all Dazai's plans are 100% foolproof. Who'd have thought? Biting his tongue to not start swearing in front of the children, Dazai quickly ushers the kids behind an overturned car. A stray bullet tears a line through his coat, scraping skin, but that is hardly a worrisome injury given the circumstances. Turns out Mori is not as crazy as Dazai thought he may have gone, meaning that the doctor had contingencies in plan to counter Dazai's genius escape the mafia unscathed plan. Considering the gunfire that Chuuya and Oda are dealing with, he may need to alter his plan to escape the mafia slightly scathed. A particularly close gunshot has the kids shrieking. Dazai sighs and pulls out his handgun, checking the magazine to see how many bullets are left and finds 7. Not bad, could be worse. A shadow moves in the corner of his eye. Dazai fires. The shadow drops. 6 bullets left then. The ground creaks around them, and the squadron Mori sent after them shrieks as Chuuya throws a couple cars their way. Using that distraction, his partner sprints over and slides between the same vehicle Dazai and the kids are crouched behind. I have a plan, Chuuya announces. But that's my job, Dazai whines. Just keep punching them till I think of something. Too bad. Chuuya takes his stupid hat off and plunks it on Dazai's head. He gapes. Chuuya never voluntarily gives up his hat. Chuuya, I'm not using corruption, Chuuya says, standing up. Just, don't want my hat caught in the crossfire. Hold on to it for me till I get back, yeah? Chuuya, Dazai repeats, louder and more insistent this time. We're all getting out of here together. Course. Chuuya offers him a small smile. You guys just get a head start. I'm right behind you. His partner dashes back to the fight, and the ground trembles in response. Seconds pass, then Oda is with them. He pauses, his eyes on the hat perched on Dazai's head. Come on, Dazai snaps before his friend can say anything. We go now. He sets off, leading the way along the planned route. A hand placed to hold Chuuya's head steadily. The kids follow him while Oda takes up the rear. Dazai refuses to look over his shoulder, trusting that Chuuya won't lie to him. They agreed. They're all leaving the mafia together. Chuuya will catch up to them in just a moment, once the swarm of goons he is dealing with are dead. There are only a few assailants that get around Chuuya and need to be dispatched. Dazai is down to 2 bullets by the time they reach their destination, an underground bunker supplied to them by the armed detective agency. He glances at Oda and, upon receiving a knock confirming that opening the door won't make it blow up, wrenches the metal door open. Oda enters first, gun raised and shoulders tense. A long minute passes where Dazai keeps glancing around, checking the shadows for any trails. Then Oda calls out that it's clear. They usher the kids in first and get them settled on the mats one of the agency members must have prepared. Dazai lingers by the door, his good eye scanning the evening around them in hopes of catching a flash of ginger hair. He stands there for 5 minutes before Oda places a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Come sit down, Dazai." "Not yet," he protests, though his traitor's feet let him be led away from the door so Oda can tug it shut. "Chuuya is on his way." "Alright," Oda says. He leaves Dazai to pace as best as he can in the small space and sits with the kids. One mentions being cold, so Oda unfurls his wings and spreads them wide, tucking each kid into his hold. Dazai keeps pacing, his shoes clacking softly on the recently dusted concrete floor. His leg starts to ache, reminding him that running and not resting afterwards hurts. He ignores it. When his feet get sore and he can't keep pacing, Dazai sits by the door, staring at it stubbornly. Chuuya is going to show up soon. He'll knock on the door or just tuck it open and accidentally break the lock, and everything will be fine. Dazai. Oda's soft voice comes later. The kids are sleeping, squished as close to their guardian as they can get. There is only a dim light bulb in the corner to supply them with light, but it works well enough for Dazai to see the look in Oda's eyes. Dazai shakes his head. "Chuuya promised," he whispers. Dazai plucks the hat from his head and waves it Oda's way as proof. "He's coming back for his hat." Oda doesn't say anything. Dazai returns to staring at the door. Morning arrives. A peppy agency member with a weird hat, who Dazai immediately hates, comes to get them, and Chuuya has not shown up. Over the last 3 weeks, Dazai has decided that he is angry. For the most part, Dazai has decided to be angry at Mori. As always, all bad things tend to be the doctor's fault, so it is reasonable that Dazai blames it on Mori. However, there is also a tiny bit of anger at Chuuya, who still hasn't shown up. Over the last days, Oda has tried multiple times to talk to Dazai, to softly broach the idea that Chuuya might not be coming, that he may have been executed as a traitor to the mafia. So, Dazai also has a teeny tiny bit of anger aimed at Oda because this is just a stupid idea. Chuuya isn't dead. He's coming to get his hat back. He promised he would be right behind them. Needless to say, Dazai has not officially joined the armed detective agency like Oda has. In fact, Dazai has decided not to leave their new apartment, a large room in the agency dorms, until Chuuya arrives. What if his chibi shows up and Dazai isn't there? He'll get confused. Clearly, the best plan is just to wait. Plus, if Dazai weren't there, then the gremlins might get lonely. They're all small and need someone of responsibility around to make sure they don't set fire to things. Granted, between the 6 of them, Dazai is the most likely to set fire to the apartment if he tried to cook. But still. All that said, it is entirely unfair that Oda kicked him outside to hang out with an ADA member that joined a month ago. So what if they were the same age? Dazai wants nothing to do with this blonde loser and is going to do his best to make sure the feeling is mutual. Point in case, since Oda kicked him out into the wilderness, Dazai has not said a single word to his forced companion for the day. Yet, somehow, that has not served to deter the other 17-year-old, who has been rambling on for the last 20 minutes, enough for the both of them. So, minding his own business and ignoring Kuni whatever, Dazai is rightfully shocked when gunfire starts and a hand latches on his wrist, yanking him into an alleyway. Instinctively, he lifts a hand to ensure Chuuya's hat does not fly off his head. He gets shoved against the fire escape and climbs it up before realizing that while being perched on a rooftop is good for having high ground, it is also rather good for trapping oneself. He'd rather not get bazookaed off another building. That hurt the last time. You're one of the ex-mafia guys, right? Kuni something asks. Can we assume they are after you? Probably. Dazai breaks his vigil of not speaking and shrugs. Haven't seen who it is yet, but odds are yes. They are shooting at me. Tends to happen a lot. I wonder why. Kuni blah blah mutters. Dazai decides to take that as a compliment. Instead, he takes out the pistol he legally isn't supposed to have, ignores Kunikida's noise of protest, and prepares to start firing back at their assailants. No way is he going down without at least trying to kill his attackers back. We are not to engage in mafia affairs, Kunikida hisses. We're supposed to run if you come across them. Well, if you want me to ask nicely of them to stop shooting at us so we can go get the groceries your boss asked for, then I can try that. Dazai pauses. Though I will say doing so usually does not work as I intended to. However, while the gunshots echo down below on the streets, civilians screaming and running away, no bullets are fired towards them. Odd, Dazai mutters. Dropping to his stomach, he shimmies across the roof and peers over the edge, curious to see what the deal is here. He spies signature Port Mafia Black, but that's it. He cannot tell who they are firing at. Kunikida joins him and makes a contemplative noise once he too clues in that they are not after Dazai. They lie on the edge of the rooftop, peering down to watch as the gunfire ceases. The mafia grunts spread out to search the area, indicating they lost whoever it was they were after, and leave. In mutual agreement, Dazai and Kunikida climb down the fire escape to head back to the agency's dorms without completing the grocery shopping they were supposed to do. Passing an alley, Dazai spies a flash of orange out of the corner of his eye. When he turns his head, nothing is there. Five days later, Dazai finds himself in a similar situation, trapped up on a building alongside Kunikida, who seems to think climbing up onto rooftops is an excellent battle strategy. Something about angles and math stuff Dazai did not listen to. Except this time, they are the ones being shot at. How annoying. If this keeps up, then they should stop being the one chosen to get groceries. Any chance you do useful things? Dazai grumbles as Kunikida pulls a notebook out of his pocket. Of course, Kunikida replies. The armed detective agency would not hire those without any skill. I thought you said your skill was math, Dazai mumbles. Don't know how much that will help right now. Kunikida glares at him, pulls a grenade from his notebook, and chucks it at the Port Mafia goons crowding in on them. Oh, that's slightly better than throwing math at them, I guess. They hold their own decently well for about 2.5 minutes. Then Dazai spots one of the attackers get out a particular weapon and groans. Come on, why does everyone have their own bazooka these days? Jump! Kunikida grabs Dazai and drags him off the edge of the roof, opposite to the idiot with the bazooka. Kunikida snaps open pretty white and brown wings. Dazai shrieks and mentally curses Kunikida out for tossing him off a building. He does the smart thing and clamps a hand on Chuuya's hat to prevent it from falling. So what if he breaks his legs again? He's not losing Chuuya's hat. Dazai! He gets a single glimpse of Kunikida stretching a hand his way as if his wings could support them both. Then weight slams into him hard enough Dazai wheezes and his lungs forget to work. His vision goes black. Then, as his fingers brush something soft, he realizes he is not going unconscious at all. You idiot! A familiar voice rasps into his ear. Stop getting blown off buildings. Chuuya? Dazai stares at his partner, who, despite the dark circles under his eye and the fatigue making his muscles tremble, grins back like everything is going perfectly according to plan. A few hearty beats of Chuuya's wings carry them over the rooftop Kunikida has claimed his new perch, and it is only once they land that Dazai realizes Chuuya managed to carry an entire extra person with him. Think you can manage to stay here and not fall off another building if I leave for a minute to go kick their asses? Dazai grabs Chuuya's wrist when his partner goes to step off the roof. Well, see, I have bad depth perception, so it might be best if you stayed with me just in case. But, Chuuya, just this once, let's not win a fight. We're doing a tactile retreat, together, and we'll beat them next time. Chuuya teeters on the edge of the roof for a moment, biting his lip, then his gaze flicks back to Dazai's head and grins. Well, I guess we both need to get somewhere safe so you can give my hat back. Exactly. Who is this? Kunikida asks. His question goes ignored. Dazai sighs. Chibi, pick me up again. Fly as far, far away. I don't want to be near Kunikida anymore. Whenever we meet up to get groceries, we get attacked, so I think it's bad luck. Oh yes, he is the one that's unlucky. Makes sense. Chuuya rolls his eyes, but does oblige and scoops Dazai up as easily as ever. He flexes his wings, drawing Dazai's attention to them. Wow, Chibi, your wings are a mess again, Dazai says, reaching over to smooth out a couple scapular feathers. Yeah, Chuuya agrees. Haven't had you to help around, so... He shrugs. Let's tackle that once we're somewhere safe. He glances Kunikida's way and offers a small nod. Come on, glasses, keep up. With that, Chuuya leaps off the rooftop, his wings carrying him and Dazai easily through the sky, leaving the Port Mafia members behind. When they get back to the dorms, everything needs to be rearranged to fit another person. Granted, since that person can control gravity, moving things around is a rather easy task. It is a bit difficult to dedicate time to preening Chuuya's wings when the kids are all crowded around him for the first hour or so, demanding answers as to where he had gone and why he went missing. That happens to be a question Dazai is also rather curious to get an answer to, which makes it extra frustrating when Chuuya placates the children with half-truths Dazai can see right through. Thankfully, Chuuya eventually excuses he and Dazai to go talk. Well, Chuuya sits on the floor and unfurls his messy wings, and Dazai gets the intent pretty quickly. Minutes into preening his partner's wings, Chuuya clears his throat. Technically, I didn't lie. I did catch up to you guys. It just took a tad longer than expected. Why? Dazai asks. What happened? More squadrons kept showing up and I was slowing down. Could feel our habaki wanting loose, so I bailed. Ran and hid like a coward. Had to stay low for a while to make sure I reach you without Mori catching on that this is where you are. But considering the Mafia was shooting at you and Blondie today, that ship has sailed. I see, Dazai murmurs. So I was right. What? It was all Mori's fault. Chuuya pauses, thinking that over, then laughs. Yeah, sure, why not? It's all Mori's fault. Glad we are in agreement. Dazai takes the hat off his head and shoves it onto Chuuya's, back where it belongs. The next morning, Chuuya wakes Dazai at 6 so they can bake a cake together before Oda and the kids get up. It's a mess. Dazai gets ingredients everywhere, but they don't burn anything down. It ends up looking somewhat cake-shaped and is chocolate, so it's delicious. Chuuya giving Dazai his hat reminds me of One Piece whenever Luffy gives his hat to his friends to comfort them. I can't believe I haven't seen this concept more often with SKK. It's so precious. Another detail I love is how Chuuya compensates Dazai's lack of wings by being able to carry them both, which was established to not be possible. They do complete each other's in so many ways, I'm gonna go insane. Thank you so much, Grinch, for giving me permission to narrate your lovely work. I hope you enjoyed listening, And let me tell you, I had a blast from start to finish. Even laughed aloud on multiple occasions. I barely held it in when Dazai was refusing to pronounce Kunikida's name. Listen. I wonder why. Kuni blah blah mutters. Okay. And thank you, dear listeners, for sticking out and watching till the end. The complete fic will be uploaded next week for whoever wanna binge listen one more time. Don't forget to send kudos to the author through the link in the description. Also, if you'd like to request any fics, YouTube community tabs are now open for you to post, aside from Tumblr. And if you'd like to show more support or check out the monthly schedule, click the link through Ko-fi. Hope you have a great week. Till next time.